Sorry, please stop and just go to the beginning of the question. It cut out.
Okay.
You're fine.
I would describe myself as a contemporary worker, particularly because I'm a young worker in America. We know that a lot of young workers in America need to work multiple jobs to pay for their discretionary funding and also pay for student loans and car loans, and we seem to have to take out a lot of loans to make life happen.
Why do you have to have multiple jobs as a young worker?
Mostly because I don't make enough money.
Why don't you make enough money?
Because the university doesn't value teaching as labor and doesn't think that paying me a living wage is important.
Why do you think they do that?
I think that most institutions in America run off of some capitalist model, and they want to cut spending where they can, where they think it might not be as important, and grad students tend to be at the bottom of the totem pole, so it would be more important to give a professor or an admin a raise to keep them than to give me a raise so I can not go to a food pantry this week.
But TAs take up a considerable amount for lecturers and for faculty when they teach their classes. So the argument that you're at the bottom of the food chain, but you do most of the work, doesn't make sense, does it?
I don't think it makes a lot of sense that I'm at the bottom, even though I do a lot of the work. But I'm not in charge. I don't get to make the rules. I just get to push against the people who do.
What do you think about your station in the larger economy within public education?
Yeah, I think that in many classes, TAs are the ones who do most of the educating. A professor will lecture to a room of hundreds of people, but the TAs are the ones who work one-on-one with students, foster writing skills and critical thinking skills, and teach them about research design in my field. And so in reality, the TAs are the ones who are building the workforce of tomorrow, teaching people to do the work that they'll want to do in the future. So it's certainly frustrating to feel overlooked and feel underpaid for work that is really benefiting society overall.
Do you feel that employment roles, are chosen for yourself, or you choose those roles?
So the way it works in our department, which I know is different in various departments, we get to choose a hierarchy of preference for the class we TA. We don't get to just choose the class that we TA, and they usually pair us based off of instructor preferences and our scheduling, which sounds like it makes sense. So we get some say in the classes we teach. We do not, however, get say in what our TA-ship looks like what our roles and responsibilities as a TA are. So actually today I was informed of those roles and responsibilities by, I think she's our department manager, of what the professor I'm working with next quarter wants me to do and be responsible for.
Do you take on different identities in what you project at work than at home?
Yeah, I take on different identities at work and at home. Not a lot. I tend to be a little more casual and colloquial as a TA or a grad student instructor during the summer with my undergraduate students, but I do certainly keep up some boundaries. The boundaries that I do push against tend to be boundaries that are historically pushed on young women in academia. The idea of dressing professionally is not pushed on young men in academia the way it is young women. So I dress how I want, which is often tie-dye or combat boots.
Can you talk more about that? Why is there Like, I'm not familiar.
Oh, yeah, there's just like a huge history of institutional sexism in most fields, but in academia, it's around like proving you're as intelligent or as professional as other people. And so, to push against that, I dress how I want, and I curse in class because it feels emotionally expressive and more connective to other people than trying to monitor my behavior all the time.
Are those roles expressly reserved for men in academia?
The role of cursing or...
Expressing yourself how you want to.
I don't think it's reserved exclusively for men, and men are still policed to some effect in that way, but I think it happens a lot more for women in our field, that you're expected to dress professionally. And
Why?
Why?
Yeah, why?
I don't know how to explain institutional sexism to you. Like,
why not? I mean, you're doing a great job as it is.
Okay.
I didn't really know
Yeah,
that there
absolutely.
was. Well,
So, like,
I had
for
no idea.
women in professional positions, which is usually academia would fall into one of those, you need to dress in a way that's feminine without being provocative, that would relate to wearing shoes that are feminine, but not shoes that are sexy or high heels, because that would be inappropriate by some historically patriarchal society that drives these kinds of rules, the hidden curriculum of grad school, right? Like learning those rules. I don't know if that helps.
Tell me more about that. What are the hidden rules?
So, I mean, those are certainly some of the hidden rules that, like, how you're expected to dress and talk. People from different, like, communities and backgrounds are expected to change the language that they use, the way that they write, to the way that academia deems as acceptable and intelligent and a representation of intelligent ideas, rather than asking an institution to change the way it perceives of intelligence or professionalism. It's generally how it works, is that marginalized groups are expected to conform to those rules and norms.
What kind of research do you do here?
I study gender and intersectional representation in children's media and how it impacts their identity development, and in turn how the identities children and adolescents have influence the way that they use and consume media and technology.
Wow, that's a lot. Okay. Let's talk more about these hidden rules of academia.
Okay.
What else is a hidden rule for a woman in academia, working in academia? Nobody has talked about this.
Yeah, I feel like the ones that stick out for me are these, like, ideas around professionalism, which for women are usually about their appearance. So dress, the way that they present themselves. They feel like they need to be respected. I've certainly heard professors speak to female students about what they're wearing more often than I hear professors speak to male students about what they're wearing, and these are graduate students. So professors telling their graduate students that what they're wearing might be sending the wrong message to the children that they're working with.
What kind of message are they referring to?
Usually it's a message about being too provocative or sexualizing oneself.
So why are women in academia forced to engender this roundabout discussion of provocativeness and dress?
I don't know that is like limited to academia. I think that happens for women in all sort of seemingly professional fields.
But you work in academia.
Sure.
So getting that
Yeah.
is, and I'm not here to silence you, I'm here to ask you about academia.
Yeah.
And I'm happy to talk more about where that you see that as a gender bias throughout employment, but for academia, because this is about public education.
Yeah.
Why is it that what is your rationale of this system? Of this dynamic?
Based based on my experience and the experience of other women who've gone through academia and written about it, that's where this is coming from for me.
So tell me more about your experience. You have said dress.
Yeah.
You have, what else?
Yeah, it's like ideas about upholding boundaries between graduate student or instructor and undergraduates. And while I certainly agree that there need to be some boundaries, some people take that to an extreme. Additionally, women in academia tend to be asked to do more labor for free. Things like women in academia are more likely to be asked to write letters of recommendation, to be asked to do certain types of like service in academia.
Why is that?
Because in our society, women are expected to take care of other people and take on emotional labor silently and expectedly.
See, had I not belabored this point, I wouldn't have known that that was your opinion or experience. It would have just been this relative abstract concept that says we know and should accept that society is unfair towards women and has negotiated or infiltrated its way into or has been a part of academia since its inception, which is why I asked you if you think that this is a traditional or non-traditional economy or industry. So I'm just trying to understand in very explicit terms as you describe your experiences relative to the questions that I'm asking. And so I really need to know the details as to from your perspective. So, why do you believe women like yourself? Maybe I should ask a more tailored question.
Okay.
I think it sounds like you might appreciate that.
Maybe.
Why do you believe women like yourself are targeted or... Sorry, do you believe that women like yourself are targeted for such abuse in dynamics and power?
Yeah.
Why do you suppose that is?
I think that the patriarchal power structure